We're live. Welcome to the Javier Mendez podcast. So, Jav, good to see you. It is smoking hot out here today on the East Coast. How are things in California?
Hot, but not too hot. But it's probably in the low 90s.
Low 90s, but dry heat. Makes a
Yeah, not
difference.
bad. Not bad. It's not bad. Not great, but not bad. I mean, almost ideal, but just a little too hot. Just a little, not much.
Some of the first things I saw somebody ask me in the comments, how is Umar's healing going along? Any updates from his surgery? How's that looking?
I don't know. I'll see him. I'll see him this week, this Friday. He's going to be working the corner with me for Islam Mabadov and Kasum, his training partner. He's going to work the corner with. So I'll know how his progress is going when I see him this Friday. I'll see him this Friday working the corner with him and Gaji. So he'll be with me, and I'll know his progress. But I know he stayed on purpose a couple weeks after, which this is the second week to get rehab in Vegas. So so he's probably still in Vegas right now, and I'll meet him on Friday.
So he got it done in the States this time.
Las Vegas, where he had the best care, and it was under the UFC's guidance.
Beautiful. All taken care of. And then I saw Khabib, like I wasn't expecting it. We weren't talking about it. Did he surprise you or did you expect him? He just popped up for a day at AKA and then you have the little clip. We've seen it on Instagram and everyone's like, oh, it's Khabib.
No, he told me he was going to drop by for a couple of days. Originally, he was going to be here a lot longer when Umar was going to fight. He was actually even not going to work the corner like people keep asking, but he was going to be with us to be there supportive and help coach. Because that's one thing he's never said he wouldn't ever stop is coaching the guys. He never said that. He said, he's not the cornering, but he never said he stopped coaching. So when he has time, he will coach. And he's done that. And he was here to visit for a few days, and it was a pleasure having him here because the energy level of this place just goes to another level when he comes here because he's such a great coach and such a great competitor that anybody he goes with, he smashes. And, people are always in disbelief. How did this happen to me? This normally never happens to me. Well, you never go with Khabib. You go with Khabib. You know what smash means then. You fully
People are waiting
understand
for
the
that to
meaning
go
of
away and it doesn't go away.
it doesn't go away. Nah, he still trains all the time, so he's always in great grappling shape. He's not in fighting shape, but grappling shape. He's always in great grappling shape. Always.
Well, it always looks like MMA media is trying to like delve into a shoehorn a story out of Khabib's circumstance. Like, is he coming back? Is he coming back? I mean, they need him to come back because they need attention on whatever they're making stories on in their view. But we understand that he's retired. It's just funny. I mean, you still see that. Did people come up to you again and ask you, when's he coming back? Is he really going to do this?
Less and less people are asking because we keep shooting it down because he's never indicated one time he's going to ever come back to fight ever. That you can forget about. The coach never bring it up. So I still have him. He still coaches with me. He just may not be in the corner, but so what? I learned to deal with that too. You have to learn to deal with ups and downs in this sport because you can't rely on having this one person all the time. In the MMA world as a coach, you better learn to accept all the outcomes because if you don't, accept these outcomes, that you can't do anything about, you're going to be in a world of hurt. You're going to put you're going to put stress on yourself because of things you can't control. So for me, as soon as Khabib said I'm done, that was it. Oh my God! It's like no, it's done. What I got to do now? It's like what do I have left? Well, I have me. I have my guys. I have the things that I can work on, and that's what we do. We move on. We go forward. We never look at what we lost. We admire what we had. We cherish what we had. But we also have to move on and proceed with what we have left, and that's what I do all the time. I never skip a beat. Never.
So, I mean, in the 20-something years you've been coaching, nothing stays the same ever. So you learn to give up control. Did you ever think that when you were younger years, like, oh, I got to control this, or you're just like something just told you at one point, you know what, just float, go with it, roll with it. Like, how did it come to mind? Understanding
Well, Well, by nature, I'm not a control freak, so I don't control anybody. By nature, it's very easy for me because I don't control anybody, never have. So I always allow the individual that I'm working with guidance and let them choose. Let them choose what they want. And I choose what I want. They choose what they want. We meet in the middle, and we're happy. If we don't meet in the middle, then we go our own separate ways. But I've never controlled anybody. I never will. I always look at it, if I have to control you, that means I don't have you. That means you're not going to be here wanting to be with me. It's going to be one of those deals where you're going to do something that I want you to do because I want you to do it, not because you want to do it. So I always look for that individual, whether it be a fighter, a girl fighter, or a guy fighter, is that wants what they want, and we fit into that same program. We have to fit into the same program, but if they come into fit into my program, then better expect that they have a voice, they have an opinion, they have desires of what they want, and it has to go that way. Otherwise, it doesn't work. I will never want a fighter that listens to everything that I say or do, because that means they don't have a voice, And I'll explain to you how, which I just used Cain Velasquez. When I started training Cain, I used to tell him, look, listen, whatever I teach you, it may be right from my perspective, but if it's not right from your perspective and it's not something you're interested in, then let me know. Learn the technique. Let me know you don't like it, you don't want to use it. Then we'll just shelve it, and you can teach it to somebody else who may want to use it. But don't just listen to what I say and let's waste time with something you're never going to use. Let me know you're never going to use it. Then we'll move on. I don't want to spend time with something that's not, something you're going to spend any time with or even try to do. So he says, okay. So, Cain would tell me, we'd be training, and he goes, no, I don't like that. I go, what do you mean you don't like that? You don't like because the technique's not right, or what? He goes, no, I just don't like doing that. I don't do that. I said, okay, move on, shelve it. And that's the way I am. That's the way I will continue to be to the rest of my life. I will always be that individual that's going to tell you what works and what I think could work, but you have to have a mind of your own to say, yes, coach, I'm going to use that, or no, I'm not. If you're the guy that's going to listen to everything I say, then you're not the guy I want to coach. I don't want to coach you. I want the individual that has a mind of his own, that can figure out things on their own. I don't want the person that I have to drive. I don't.
They take the good notes from you. They use what they use, and whatever. Hopefully, it all comes together in one beautiful recipe at the end of the thing, right? Pretty much.
They create their own recipe. That's why none of the fighters that I train are the same, because
they're all creative. It's a creative process.
Yeah, they're all different. They all think different. They all fight different. Not one of my fighters fights the same. Not one. Everybody that I've ever had that was a champion, from the kickboxers I've had to the MMA fighters that I presently have that are champions, they're not the same. None of them are the same. Islam's not the same. Khabib's not the same. Usman's not the same. Cain's not the same. Luke Rockhold's never the same. DC was not the same. Frank Shamrock's not the same. John Fitch is not the same. Bobby Southworth, not the same. King Mo Loa was not the same. All these guys are all different. And there's many more that I've trained in the past years, but they're different fighters. They don't never look the same. They're all different.
That relationship is kind of like the air traffic controller and the guy in the cockpit. The cockpit's the fighter, and the guy outside is like, "Hey, go to left a little." It's like, "No, I see something in the way of the airplane." Oh, I didn't see that. I guess that works. So that's pretty interesting. I mean, I never asked you this question. It's just to have some interesting content. But coaching for 20-something years, you're the only guy on the planet that's had your unique type of career with the amount of champions that you've had in this sport since the beginning of the sport, pretty much. Not day one, because the Gracies had that, but later on you had champions. When you had a fighter reach championship level, has it always felt like it's going to keep going and going and going, or is it always like, hopefully we can make it to the next one? What's your feeling as a coach, or you're just like riding the ride because you're so used to the fight business?
Well, the very first UFC champion was Frank Shamrock way back in the day, late 90s, right? And it was one of those situations that was kind of surreal. I was like, whoa, I actually have, before that, I've had kickboxing champions and boxing champions, not boxing champions at a high level, but I've had kickboxing champions at a high level, but not boxing. But in MMA, Frank Shamrock was the biggest prototype Although, in the history books, you won't find me named with Frank, because Frank didn't hardly ever name me, but I was the main guy that was behind him all the time through his wins. From his first win for John Lober, which was in Hawaii, the one person that had beat him. I was there, and his other fight was Instant Inoue, when I showed him how to do a knee properly, and that's the same knee he knocked out Instant Inoue with. Then after that, he fought John Lober, a rematch in Hawaii, and then for so on and so on. And then, he went on a run, and Frank Shamrock was one of the greats, but I never honestly thought that I'm going to keep making these guys. I was just fortunate that to have one guy after another, because, BJ Penn, I didn't train him to a championship, but he came to me because I trained Frank Shamrock, so he came to me. He goes, I want you to train me because you trained Frank, so I started BJ's career because of the relationship with Frank Shamrock. And because of BJ Penn, other people came, so I was very fortunate to have these high-level athletes seek me out, because of one person's accomplishments, which was Frank's, and so on and so on, and that's how Khabib came, because of the accomplishments of DC, Kane being wrestlers, and Khabib was wrestler based. So again, it's all related to accomplishments of the past, not the present, and that's where I've been fortunate. I've been fortunate to have that, and I hopefully continues, because I love coaching, and but we'll see. We're still
It's amazing.
doing great.
It's like, I don't know if everybody that, not everybody's like, you have to be like, there's like levels of people that watch the sport. There's a casual, which is the majority. Then, in radio or sports TV, they call it a P1, a true hardcore. They're like, how much does Umar weigh today? What's he looking like? Is he on weight? He's 6 months out from a fight. Like super hardcore, beyond even necessary, right? And then there's that fine line, like 2 weeks out of the fight, they're getting interested in the story. And then there's 2 days before, and there's the day of people, right?
Right.
So it's pretty interesting how that flows.
Yeah.
Someone just asked, what's the state of Umar? And you just told us earlier, because I didn't tune in earlier, basically that Umar's just had his surgery, and you're going to corner with him for Bellator fights, right?
This Friday, August 11th in South Dakota, Bellator. Yes, I corner him, Enrique Barzola, and Islam Mabadov, and Kasum, his Umar sparring partner. I corner all three of those guys.
Well, thank you, Nezal Louis. They listen to our coach. See, I can't. I need glasses. Can you tell which flag this is? Might be Turkey. I don't want to say the wrong thing though. And then someone's like King Kane.
It looks like Turkey, I think, but I'm not sure either.
Yeah, and then let's see. Say, Coach, is Khabib going to be in Abu Dhabi for Islam's fight?
He's gonna go there for support and help out. Yes, but he's how long he will be there, I don't know. But he will be there. But he definitely won't be in the corner. That I can tell you, he will not. But he definitely will be there, like he's always been. He's always gonna do what he's done. He's never done anything different since he said he wasn't gonna corner. He's gonna do the same thing he's always done.
And you guys might be training at Habib's new gym out there in Abu Dhabi as well, right?
No. 100% we're going to be there.
100%.
Yeah, we're going to be at the Habib gym. Yes.
That's awesome. You show up for a fight and you get your own gym. I love it. That's great.
State of the art gym. State of the art. Probably best gym that we'll probably ever train in for MMA, or probably just period, just for just training. It's a beautiful facility. Probably one of the nicest there. Maybe one of the nicest anywhere.
I know this is a great question, but how does Khabib seem in his more getting the good quality family time? And does it seem to be raising his spirits? Does he seem like a happier guy with this pace of life, just showing up like not a full camp for every guy throughout the year kind of thing?
I don't know. He's still same Khabib to me. He's always very, very driven, very happy. He's a family man. He's a devoted family man, loves his kids, loves his fighters. And he realizes as a father, you have to be there more to support his kids. So if he devotes his time to the fighters like he did in the past, he's not going to be able to watch his kids do the gymnastics, watch his kids grow. He's going to miss that part. And there's only one go round on this. On the fight game, he's got more because he's going to have more fighters. But in the father game, No, they're only going to be 4 years old one time. Only going to be 5 years old one time. And he has to be there and wants to be there and devote his time to his kids to give them the love and the attention that they need, and he's doing that.
Yeah, it's true. You know better than me, but he doesn't always. He's not a talky guy. If he tells you, he tells you. He's not like a blabbermouth. He's very stoic, anyways. So it's not
Very
like
quiet, very stoic. He's
not volunteering a bunch of information.
No,
Let
no,
me tell you, the barbecue we had last
no,
weekend.
no,
That's not
no.
how
He doesn't. He's not like that. He doesn't brag about nothing.
nothing.
He just does what he does.
Humble.
You know.
So there's a quick question on this one. We'll go into Nate Diaz and all that next. But thoughts on Diego Lopes after his win versus Gavin? Do you think he can be a contender in the future? That was on the UFC 50 card.
Hard to tell. He's a fan favorite. I tell you that, the fan favorite. It's hard to tell where he's at. I mean, he definitely has the fans' approval. He's got my approval. He's a guy that's fun to watch. Taking the first UFC fight he took on short notice, he gave that hell, man. That guy was just so much fun. So we'll see. I don't know. He's got to have more fights at high level guys before I can actually say where he's at. I can't say anything other than he's a really fun fight to watch. He's a fighter on the rise, and with the proper training, he showed he could be, and not can be. He is much better than what he was when he performed on short notice.
Before you give him the full stamp of approval, we need more of an appraisal for sure.
It's got to be. He's got to give more.
Right.
He's showing great promise, though, really great promise. But I don't know how much more, other than he's a fan favorite. I love watching him. He's definitely somebody that's entertaining. He's one of the most memorable guys on that fight. I'll tell you
that. This is a quickie. Hi, Coach. I'm curious, how do you communicate with Islam's coaches when there's a language barrier? And do you prefer to be in Abu Dhabi earlier than 3 weeks before the fight? Much love. That's from Fahad Awadi.
I would prefer to be there 2 months out at least, but unfortunately, just like the Australia, I was only there 3 weeks. Unfortunately for this one, I'm going to be there less because I have Usman, his training partner. He's fighting here in the States, so we'll be training here. I can't leave until Usman's fight's over in Bellator, where he defends his title in the semi-finals with his opponent.
Mr. Flexible,
Brett Primus. So we have to
yeah.
fight. We have to fight Brett Primus, and then we get by him. Then he's in the finals, so that I have to do that first. Islam has got great coaching. He's got Muhammad, and he's got Saeed. Safe. I'm sorry. He's got Safe over there. I think he's got Safe. I know he's going to have Muhammad. Safe, maybe. I'm not sure, because Safe is the Taekwondo Olympic coach. So it all depends on whether Safe can go or not. He may not be able to, because there's times where Safe was planning, but his obligations to the Olympic team were higher, so he couldn't go. So we definitely will have Muhammad there, who's the head coach for Team Khabib. So they're in good hands. Muhammad's a great coach. So I will join probably 12 days out.
Meanwhile, he's working with the head coach, and Khabib's showing up, so he's got plenty, and great training partners.
And Khabib's going to be with him at home training. When Khabib left today, he was here for a couple of days. Khabib will be back home training with Islam, so Islam's going to be fine. He's got great training already, and he's got great coaching. So with great coaching, great training that he does already, let's see. We know we're ready for a much tougher Charles Oliveira's. We have to be, because every fight's different. Most fighters improve from time to time when you fight them. And if you fought him 2 years ago, you can't look at the same guy, because that's 2 years ago. People improve, And Charles, although it was a year ago, there's this much highly motivated, Charles Oliveira. He wants his title back, and it's up to us to make sure it stays with us. And we have to do our homework. We have to do our job, just like Islam does, to make sure we keep it. And that's the plan, right? So I'm expecting that we will do that. And, but I won't be with them until, like I said, about 12 days out.
Yeah, he's that's a hell of a test there. He looked really amazing in his last fight. So, well, I'm sure Islam's going to get all his good training in with his people. He's got a huge camp behind him, like you said. And, let's see. What about Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz. What did you think about that fight? Why don't you tell me your
I,
shot first?
I'll tell you, I was very impressed with Jake Paul. I thought that Jake Paul might fade away in the seventh round to the 10th round. I thought if Nate could survive the earlier rounds, he can get him in the later rounds. But Nate did come back at times and won some rounds, and there was some. If it wasn't for the knockdown, which was the 10-8 round, for Jake, I don't know how that fight would have gone. It could have gone. It could have been a lot closer because Nate did win some of the later rounds, and he came on strong. I heard Nate was injured, but like with him, you never know because he acts like nothing's happened. That guy fights injured, not injured. He doesn't care. He fights. And one thing about Nate, if you watch, he performs. He was more interested in giving the crowd,
The show.
the show, and he delivers. He delivers. Even though he lost again, he gained more fans from losing again than he did from Jake Paul winning. Jake got less.
He won the moral victory, right?
He won the moral victory again.
Right.
So, what you can say, Nate Diaz knows how to become a star. He is a star, a major star, and he proved it. When is the last time have you ever seen two really one kind of mid-range boxer who's only been doing it for 3 years, really doesn't belong in the main event, and Jake Paul, and then another guy who's never had a boxing match, been boxing, but is an MMA fighter, and they take center stage in a full house? When has that ever happened? Never happened. It's never happened. Never to this magnitude. So what do we have here? We got two major stars, crossover stars. Jake Paul, you love him or hate him, but who's done what he's done? Anybody, and I like his saying to all the kids out there that, hey, you have a dream, you have a goal. Don't let anybody tell you can't do anything with what you have, with your circumstances. He's the living proof that you can. You can dream big. You can be big. And Nate Diaz is another individual that you can learn from too, because Nate Diaz ain't taking nothing from nobody. You ain't doing this to me. You ain't doing that to me. I'm not taking this. I'm not taking that. You're fighting me, and this is what we're going to fight for. He's another guy that calls the shots. And I said it before in the past, from the UFC guys, you guys want to learn to be in control of your destiny? Look at Nate Diaz. He was in the UFC. He created, remember, and you'll remember when I tell you this, there's a 5-round fight. Nate Diaz wanted 5 rounds for his fight, and it's not even a title fight. He wanted 5 rounds. He got 5 rounds. It wasn't even for a title. He wasn't even the main event. And he got 5 rounds. Why? Because he demanded it. And why did they give it to him? Because he's a star. That's why. So what I'm trying to say here is these guys create things that it's not supposed to be creatable. But they did it. These are proof that you can be successful. And you don't have to be a champion to get the attention. You just have to have the knack for getting the attention. Like Jake Paul did at the beginning with YouTube. Everything they did on YouTube, getting the attention, making all those millions of subscribers into millions of dollars. They're like he said, he bought his first $7-point-something million home from the YouTube.
Yeah,
documentary. That's unbelievable. And you follow Nate Diaz's career too. Same thing. So they fought a very entertaining fight. It was very entertaining. It was back and forth. It was not a wipeout by any means. It was one of those fights. Had the knockdown not happened and maybe Nate won one more round, he might have went his way. Who knows? It was an entertaining fight. It was not a snoozer. It was not boring whatsoever. And a lot of it had to do is because Nate Diaz is a performer.
It's funny. I met Nate Diaz when he was like 22 years old, before any of this was what it was. It's crazy to see the before and after. You met Khabib before. I met Khabib when he was already there. You met Khabib before he was even close to there. But could you tell then? I couldn't tell back then. I was like, it's pretty good. And then, he had the full endorsement of Jake Shields and Nick Diaz are like, this guy's going to kick ass. And that's all I knew. And they knew, and it was funny, even back then, 16 years ago, some of the MMA fighters were telling me, you ain't seen nothing yet. Wait till you see what's coming around the corner from us. There's even more badass guys coming up because they're learning earlier, getting the techniques down faster, improving in training and so forth, the evolution.
Well, I of course, with Khabib, I picked it up right away. The first time he was here, I knew he would be a superstar. I just didn't know if he understood or listened till I realized that he was misunderstanding me. When I would say relax, he would go harder. When I realized he did understand, then I realized, that the second visit was when I knew he was going to be a star. The first time I thought, man, this guy could be a star if he would just listen. Then I found out he didn't understand. That's why I say relax, and he goes crazy, and I didn't realize it. So I knew from him right away he could be. With Nate, I never thought he could be a champion. I didn't know what he could be, but Nate believed he could be a champion, and Nate never gave up on himself. And Nate, basically, he's a performer. He's a performer, and he don't give up. I mean, he never gives up. You can win him on rounds, but he'll tell you, I still whooped your ass. His attitude, and that's what made him a fan favorite. Because look at the Leon Edwards fight, he was getting beat, and finally he wins the last little bit of the round, and he won everybody over.
And he defeated the supposed boogeyman of Khabib. Not that Khabib was really truly afraid, but when Tony was a threat 7-8 fights ago, 9 fights ago, when he seemed like a threat because he was running through people, no one had an answer for him. Mr. Elbows, Mr. Super Grappler. I mean, I'm sure, from Khabib's camp, you guys looking at him going, I'll run right through that guy, looking at the holes in his wrestling, things that I can't see, things that only a top performer could see. I mean, what was the talk on that? Like something like a Tony,
There was no talk on the Tony thing, because when we were scheduled to fight Tony, that was many years ago, and so there was no look at this, because you can't compare apples to oranges type thing. It's a different scenario.
Now you definitely can't. You definitely can't now.
But even back then, we weren't comparing them. I wasn't comparing them because it's like different. It's a different fighter. They're different circumstances, and a lot of people they're saying Tony should retire. I don't know if Tony should retire. He was in great shape. How do you know that the eye poke wasn't that severe that it messed him up?
Right.
I tell you, he's such a warrior. He is such a warrior that he didn't let that eye poke. Maybe he couldn't see. He just told the doctor he could see so he could fight. DC did it.
Yeah.
He did it to us. Stipe, talk about eye pokes. DC eye pokes Stipe every damn fight, and all of a sudden it gets done to him, and all of a sudden DC can't see. He was blinded the whole day. It took him a whole day to recover it from his eyes, from his vision. He couldn't see. But wow. DC telling the doctor, yeah, I see, I'm fine, I'm see. But he couldn't see. The doctor that day, he couldn't see. So what I'm saying is, DC was born of that cloth. You can't tell me that Tony is not the same cloth. He 100% is. So I'm just saying the eye poke very well could have been a big factor, because he was in great shape. He never stopped fighting. But if you're like one-eyed and you got pain in that eye, I'm sorry, you're basically, you're not the same fighter, whether you want to be or not. You're not the same fighter. And I think it's more that than anything. And not to take anything away from the fight, because his opponent is a badass, and his opponent, who knows, maybe beats him anyways. But I don't know. I know one thing, that Tony was definitely injured.
Yeah, that's true. But just, you know what? Nate Diaz beat him. Nate Diaz wasn't even on the radar. They took that fight last minute. It worked out in Nate Diaz's favor. He retired on top. He kept his showmanship going. And like the moral victory of versus Jake Paul was really about him. Like, that didn't hurt. What's the big deal? Kind of deflating him, devaluing him in the ring, even though he wasn't ahead on points. He's like, what's all this hype about? That's what he was using with his body language and his taunting and entertaining the fans with. I mean, is that the part that you saw for the moral victory? That's what I saw anyways.
Well, I saw him trying to win. I saw him doing everything he could to win. I don't think Nate went out there to try to give the guy the fight. I think he went out there and tried to win. But at the same time, too, the moral victory was another thing, that he's an entertainer. He knows how to entertain. So he proved he can entertain. He proved like, hey, you ain't got shit. But Nate's always done that. So it's nothing new. It's nothing new. It's not something that, oh my God, he just did something he's never done before. No. Everybody knew he was going to be there in the long haul. Everybody knew that if it was 20 rounds or something like that, don't bet against Diaz, because unless you knock him out, he's going to be there 20 rounds from now and probably beating your ass.
So
He's just a badass dude. That's all. He's a real fighter.
Yeah, it was a great. It was entertaining. First, it looked like early on, it looked like, oh, he's done. Jake Paul's got power, which he does. I would say that he probably has more power than the punches and bunches style than Nate Diaz. And I
Well,
wasn't.
everybody knew that.
We knew that.
And he got Jake hit him with a beautiful left hook to the top of the temple too, and that's what locked his equilibrium on. And he went down. That wasn't on the chin, that was on the temple, but it was a great shot by Jake Paul, and Jake's got power, so there it is. But that also, Nate ain't quitting for shit. You got to kill him to stop him. You ain't the only person that's ever stopped him was Josh Thompson when he kicked him in the neck, and that was it.
Jorge Masvidal had a TKO.
Oh yeah, yeah. But before that, it was just
Josh Thompson's knockout leg kick KO. Yeah, I remember. Another product of the Javier Mendez team. Yep, Josh Thompson, Strikeforce champion.
Yeah, but Nate Diaz has beat up enough of my other guys too,
though. You needed one guy to get him back, I guess. So, that was the Moroccan flag, by the way, from Omar Hussein. Thanks, Omar. We couldn't see. It's really kind of hard on the picture here. Let's see. So, Rahid Santina, coach, who will win? Jake Paul versus Andrew Tate or Elon Musk versus Mark Zuckerberg? Do you know who Andrew Tate is? I know who he is. He's all over the internet.
I know who he is. Jake Paul, and I'll take Zuckerberg because he got the experience. He's been doing it for a while, and he's a younger guy. So anyone can win, but those are my pick. I'm not interested in Jake Paul versus Andrew Tate. I would never watch that. I could care less. Jake Paul probably should fight. Actually, no. You know what? Andrew Tate probably a good one to fight because he's a former world champion. I'll take Jake Paul, but anything can happen. I don't really know Andrew Tate or how good he is. I never watched anything of him, so I don't know how to analyze if he's good or not. But Elon Musk and Zuckerberg, if that ever does go, that's the biggest fight in the history of sports because everybody knows who they are. And with their social media, shit, come on, man. Everybody's going to know about it. Everybody's going to watch. It'll be the most watched event of all time.
Yeah,
most successful of all time. And they're giving it to charity if they do. They talked about giving the money to charity. And they've been in touch with some very high-profile individuals to learn from, both of them, both the camps. I'm not at liberty to say who, but they've been in touch with some high-level people for training, and you already seen it with some of the other high-level people. With you got Adesanya, you got Alex with Elon, and then you got with Zuckerberg. I think it was it Musk with St. Pierre too?
Yeah.
Okay, and Zuckerberg's been with other high-level people. So a lot of these guys are learning from the best of the best. So. Whether they're serious or not, I don't know. I just know it appears. Even Dana White ain't going to come out and say, he'd put it on his show. Dana ain't doing it for publicity. So Dana must know something we don't know, and that it might be real. And why are these guys talking like that if they're not real? I don't know. I just think that it's probably real.
Is it the battle of social media censorship title? Who's gonna cancel you?
It's a fight. Everybody's gonna want to see.
Right.
Yeah, everybody's gonna want to see. I want to see it. I'm not saying I would want to train those guys, but I definitely would be a spectator because it's fun. And when no one's gonna be looking for great technique. They're just gonna look to see who's gonna win.
Omar Malkosh, question about the level of boxing you imagine Francis will be showing on his debut to Nate's. I thought Diaz had a good boxing for MMA, but it seems a lot different. Okay, like what's it going to look like when the big man steps in against the Gypsy King?
Hard to say because number one, the longer that goes, the worse it's going to go for Francis for sure. But listen, the speed factor and the power factor that Francis has, if the Gypsy King doesn't respect Francis like he should, he's not going to be able to diffuse them like he should. So there's a danger factor there. And anybody that knows anything about speed and power, and not afraid to wing it, that's freaking Francis. He's got that enormous power, and you can't ignore that. You can't ignore his intentions and the fact that he's a champion. Yes, a different sport, so you have to respect that. And I don't think the Gypsy King is going to come in, not expecting that Francis has that potential knockout shot. So he's going to defuse it, and nobody knows better how to defuse a power puncher than an exceptional boxer like Fury. He's a great boxer, one of the greatest. So they know how to do it, and whether he does it that night, we'll see. I'm thinking he will. I'm thinking he will be able to diffuse that power, and as the rounds go, unless Francis gives him one of those gimme shots. I think it's going to go in the later rounds when he loses a lot of that steam before the Gypsy King unloads on him with his power and precision. But I think at the beginning he's going to defuse that bomb, and the more Francis throws with power, the less the power becomes a risk. So let's see though. Anything's possible. I mean, I never would have thought that Anderson Silva would have beat Chavez's son, because Chavez's son was a former world champion boxer, legit. So I never thought Anderson Silva was going to win, but he did. But Anderson's been boxing, in all honesty, he's been boxing for a long time. And if he if he can recall, he had stated way back then that he wanted to fight Roy Jones Jr. in a boxing match. So Anderson, obviously, his boxing has been good even way back then, and obviously he's one of the greatest strikers in the UFC history. One of the greatest champions in UFC history.
I think it's just like we're seeing boxing and MMA. We're seeing MMA fighters that are older. Like if you see somebody come back like a George, like when George came back, how old was he?
44.
44.
He beat Michael Moore. He beat Michael Moore.
Yeah, that was an old school heavyweight. Many, many, many years of boxing. But now we're seeing older MMA fighters fighting younger boxers. We got the mat down. We're not fighting like for like here. We're fighting guys on the tail end of their career. So that's what I'm going to look at. That's the work to me. That's the WWE angle I see. But here's a guy asking, Slum Coach, thanks for this podcast. What's the diet of your fighters like? I'm sure that's pretty varied.
They're varied. They're all different. Some have dietitians. Most have dietitians. They get advice from. It's all varied. I can't really say because they're all different.
Let's see. Now let's talk about, before I go do any more questions, because we'll get off topic here. What did you think about the UFC 50 ESPN fights? Tatiana Suarez, did that go as expected?
It went like I expected, and Tatiana, now that's the third world champion she's beaten, and Tatiana showed that she's the one. She's the heir to that throne. She was the heir back then. She's proven it again. She's the heir for damn sure. For damn sure. And the beauty of it, this girl here potentially could be the 115 and the 125 champion. Don't be shocked if she's able to pull that off. I would not be surprised with her ability that she can do both weights. She's already beat, the current champ. She already beat her before earlier on, and this, Andrade, the one she beat yesterday. Day before yesterday, it was another former champion. So, and Rose, right? Did she beat Rose Namajunas, right?
Yeah.
Is that who she beat? Yeah.
Yep.
So she beat, and who else did she beat? I think she beat 4 champions now. I think the other one she got was the first world champion. Well, I think this is her 4th world champion she's beaten.
Oh, wow. Pretty good.
Yeah. And she did not just beat him, she destroyed him.
Let's see something here.
So watch out for Tatiana. That's the next. Come on, it's an easy prediction. That's the next champ.
Well, another guy I'm going to bring up was this Tanner Boser versus Aleska Kimura. That guy supposedly trained with Stipe or something, but he got beat by Tanner Boser. And I've seen Tanner fight. He was fighting in the Russian, the tough guy league before he came to the UFC. He was fighting like the Khabib brothers. You know what I mean? This guy came in a tough way, so I think he's ready. He's doing great, and I think he's ready for his UFC. Moving up the ladder here. Did you
Yeah,
watch that fight?
he had his opponent with so many shots. His opponent was like a granite chin, man. Granite chin, unbelievable lot of punishment he took. He just peppered him over and over, and he took it, man. He was still in the fight the whole 3 rounds. I was very impressed with his opponent's chin. Great chin, wow, and never stopped trying. I never really got nothing going, but Tanner just put the whooping on him, and he kept coming. He kept coming.
For sure. Corey Sandhagen versus Rob Font. Did that give you another look? Like, had that been with Umar, did you think how that would have went, or were you just looking at that fight because, like you said, apples to oranges to me earlier in the podcast?
Yeah, I was just looking at that fight for what I thought. It's nothing different than what I thought with Umar, because Umar's a different fighter. But what I thought was smart on Corey's fight part. Very, very smart, very intelligent fight. Very boring, but didn't matter. He got the win done, and he got the win without jeopardizing any risk. And Rob Font, I mean, my God, I've never seen a guy get taken down so damn easily with single legs every single time. I don't think Corey failed on one, and controlled him. And the one good thing, Font never exposed himself, which was good, because Corey was ready to pounce on him, but he just never got the opportunity to do it, and he never could open Rob up enough to get that going. So it was one of those very lackluster, very
Technical, not dynamic.
not dynamic, not whatsoever. And
Yeah.
I'm sure the fans hated it, but I myself didn't really hate it. I didn't really. I mean, I could have turned it like this, and then I come back and I'm looking at the same thing. But
look at your phone during the fight, type of fight.
Yeah, I still appreciated what Corey did, and on top of that, I heard he tore his tricep. I heard he tore his tricep completely. So that even is more impressive on Corey Sandhagen. Yeah. So he just proved that he's a smart fighter. Yeah, big props to him. Big props to him. So he tore his bicep completely and tricep. Sorry, I keep saying bicep. His tricep in half, I heard. So I was very impressed with him regarding how he fought. Very impressive way. How he stuck to it. He could have stood with Rob, but his attitude was, why? The guy's a good striker. He can't defend the damn takedown for the life of him. So why not go back to the well? The well kept working, giving you water. Why stop?
Right.
No, Sandhagen, a big giant applause for what he did. I think it was great. Boring for the fans, for damn sure. But you know what? He got the W. He gets an opportunity. He gets double pay because he gets the win bonus. And that's Rob Font did not. And that's the way you're supposed to fight. So it's about what he did. It's about winning. I'm sorry. You may not like him. Promotion may not like how he fought. But you know what? Because you're a winner, you get another opportunity. If you would have lost that and the fans didn't like it, the UFC didn't like it, then you're subject to potentially getting cut. So hey, love him or hate him, Sandhagen fought an incredible, impressive fight.
You can't win everything with a double backflip capoeira kick. Bottom line. Let's see. So this is a funny statement here. It said Nate Diaz was busy selling the fight. He's a gangster. He was selling the fight while he was in the fight. He was. That's a good way of illustrating it.
The guillotine, the joke guillotine, the joke takedown. No, he's selling the fight. The walking away, then coming back. I mean, no, he's a salesman. He's a performer, man. And like I said, you're gonna learn. If you're not a champion, then be a star.
Yeah.
Nate Diaz maybe didn't achieve UFC champion status, but he's a star. He's bigger than mostly all the champions. To be honest with you, a majority of the champions don't have his appeal. And it's because he knows how to, he knows how to get the crowd going. Like I said, Leon Edwards clearly won that fight, but the fans clearly voted for Nate Diaz as the performer of that night.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Nate Diaz won morally, financially. He's good. He's not whining in his soup. He's out buying a new pair of Chuck Taylors. He's having a good time.
No, and for the first time after a fight, he was very. I was very. He respected Jake Paul, for his performance, what he's done, and what he's done for himself, and he indicated that, and that was actually, that was a different side of Nate I've never seen. He was very cordial regarding that, and he was very cool about what he did, bring himself up the way he did, and he still felt he whooped his ass, which is normal, but he respected Jake Paul, and yeah, it's kind of refreshing at time to see Nate not bow down, but give the guy props.
Show respect. Yeah.
He did. I mean, it is what it is, and it was an entertaining fight, no matter what.
Yep. So how do you see Kasum? He's training at AKA these days, and previously Amaru was training there as well. Both Dagestani guys. How do you see them? What do they look like to you?
Great. Amaru, future champion. Kasum, let's see, but Kasum's in the mix already. He's a top guy. I think he 14-1. His record, I believe Kasum's record is 14-1. He's very, very good. I trained him for this fight. I'll be working his corner. Sorry. He looking good, real good. Islam Mavadov also is one of my boys that I've been training for a while.
Who's he fighting? Do you know?
Yeah.
You have so many. Javier talks to 50 fighters in the morning.
In the gym. I forgot the guy's name. Skips. Man, the top guy. He's a top guy. He was a former champion.
Okay. Let's see. Islam Makhachev. Okay, everyone's asking about that. Oh yeah, Mike Tyson is officially coaching. This is a good one. Mike Tyson's officially coaching Ngannou for his boxing match against Fury. Do you think Mike can bring a drastic improvement to Ngannou's boxing skills?
No. Confidence, yes.
Yeah, because as a coach, you're like, well, I can't give him my move. I can give him my confidence, pretty much, right?
Having Mike Tyson giving him that confidence boost it's a huge thing, because Mike Tyson isn't going to be bullshitting him. Mike Tyson's going to give it to him straight. And if Mike Tyson feels that he has the power to knock out Fury, then Mike Tyson is telling the truth. Mike Tyson's not going to go out there and make stupid statements. He's going to make correct statements. And I see Mike Tyson, if he's willing to train the guy, then I think Mike Tyson feels that, he probably has a chance. Otherwise, why would Mike Tyson do it? He wouldn't.
Yeah.
Spend the time with somebody that it's going to be beneath him to do that. So obviously Francis has an opportunity. I still think underdog for darn sure, but Mike Tyson believes otherwise. So, hey, I don't see Francis on a daily basis. Tyson does. So if Tyson feels that he has an opportunity to win, then I wouldn't doubt him.
Yeah, I've learned a lot more from you about coaching. Like sometimes people think it's magic. Like you go in there and you brainwash the guy, do these 10 moves, and he's like programmed. He can do everything you do or whatever, but it's a different process. They have what they have. It's how you encourage them to use it and evaluate and share notes with them. And it's a mixture of all that comes to the formula of what you see in the cage. But then that also depends on injuries, mindset, stress, weight cut, finance, and so many other variables that affects the guy walking to the cage, right? Like where their head's at. Well, just about to wrap this up, I might want to talk about what's coming up next week. How do you see Vincent Luque going up against Rafael dos Anjos?
I don't know. It's a tough, entertaining fight. Go back and forth. I really don't know. I mean, Rafael dos Anjos, he's 40 something now, right? And he's still kicking. So it's pretty impressive. I would imagine
he's coming off a win.
Luque's favored.
Luque's coming off 2 losses. Luque's coming off 2 losses.
Yeah, I don't really know. It's a tough fight. It's a tough fight. I don't really know who's going to win that one.
So you're doing the Bellator 298 Starley versus Ward. Is that where your guys are fighting?
I have no idea. It's this 11th, whenever that is. I don't know.
He's fighting. Yeah, Islam's fighting Sydney Outlaw.
There you go.
Sydney Outlaw. What a name. What a fighting name. My goodness.
Yeah, it's a great name.
So the camp's good. Everybody's doing good. Any other? There's nothing yet. Islam coming up. Islam fight. You get Usman fight coming up. I mean, those are all happening pretty soon, right? So,
yeah.
That's right. Well, thanks for coming on, Hav. I think we addressed most of the questions here. It was a good little podcast.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody. Hit the like and subscribe button. Help the stream out there, and we appreciate you dropping by. Maybe next time pop in with some questions, and Javier be glad to answer them.